Question 1. Quality control measures reveal a batch of a popular brand of children's toys exhibiting minor cosmetic defects, such as slightly misaligned paint applications. While these defects do not appear to compromise the structural integrity or safety of the toys, there is a concern that they could lead to customer dissatisfaction and potential returns. Which of the following approaches is the most appropriate for addressing this situation? Option A. Issue a company-wide directive to cease all sales of this particular toy brand until the supplier can guarantee absolutely flawless production for all future shipments. Option B. Conduct a thorough risk assessment to determine the likelihood and impact of customer dissatisfaction and potential safety concerns, engaging with the supplier to understand the root cause of the cosmetic defects, and developing a targeted mitigation plan that may include product inspection, supplier corrective actions, or adjusted inventory management. Option C. Immediately remove all toys from this batch from store shelves and initiate a recall process to prevent any possibility of customer complaints, regardless of the severity of the defects. Option D. Rely on individual store manager discretion to decide whether to pull the affected toys from their specific locations based on their personal judgment of customer sentiment. Correct answer is B. Conduct a thorough risk assessment to determine the likelihood and impact of customer dissatisfaction and potential safety concerns, engaging with the supplier to understand the root cause of the cosmetic defects, and developing a targeted mitigation plan that may include product inspection, supplier corrective actions, or adjusted inventory management. Explanation. This scenario is professionally challenging because it requires a nuanced understanding of risk assessment principles within the context of retail operations, specifically at Walmart. The challenge lies in identifying the most effective and compliant method to address a potential quality control issue that could impact customer safety and brand reputation. Careful judgment is required to balance immediate corrective action with a thorough, systematic approach to prevent recurrence. The correct approach represents best professional practice because it prioritizes a comprehensive risk assessment. This involves not just identifying the immediate problem, but also understanding its root cause, potential impact, and the likelihood of recurrence. By engaging relevant stakeholders and utilizing a structured methodology, Walmart can ensure that the chosen mitigation strategy is effective, sustainable, and compliant with internal policies and relevant consumer protection guidelines. This proactive and analytical approach minimizes future risks and upholds Walmart's commitment to product quality and customer trust. An incorrect approach that focuses solely on immediate removal without investigation fails to address the underlying issue, potentially leading to repeated problems and a lack of systemic improvement. This could violate ethical obligations to ensure product safety and could be seen as a failure to implement adequate quality control processes, which may have regulatory implications if a pattern of unsafe products emerges. Another incorrect approach that relies on anecdotal evidence or individual judgment without a formal assessment lacks the rigor necessary for effective risk management. This can lead to inconsistent decision-making, missed critical risks, and an inability to justify actions to internal or external auditors. It undermines the principle of objective risk assessment and can expose the company to liability. A third incorrect approach that involves overcorrection by halting all similar product sales without a clear risk assessment is inefficient and can negatively impact business operations and customer access to legitimate products. This demonstrates a lack of proportional response and can indicate a failure to properly categorize and prioritize risks. The professional decision-making process for similar situations should involve 1. Immediate containment if a clear and present danger exists. 2. Systematic data gathering to understand the scope and nature of the issue. 3. A formal risk assessment to evaluate likelihood and impact. 4. Development and implementation of targeted mitigation strategies. And 5. Ongoing monitoring and review to ensure effectiveness and prevent recurrence. This structured approach ensures that decisions are data-driven, compliant, and aligned with organizational objectives. Question 2. The assessment process reveals that a new, innovative technology is being considered for integration into customer-facing operations. While this technology promises significant improvements in efficiency and customer experience, its long-term reliability and potential failure modes are not yet fully understood, and there is limited historical data available for comparison. What is the most prudent approach to assessing the risks associated with this new technology? Option A. Focus the risk assessment primarily on the potential financial gains and market advantages, and only consider risks that are immediately quantifiable and have a high probability of occurring. Option B. Proceed with the integration of the technology, assuming that any potential issues will be minor and can be addressed reactively as they arise. Given the anticipated benefits, Option C. Conduct a thorough risk assessment that includes qualitative analysis of potential failure scenarios, impact assessments on various stakeholders, and the development of comprehensive mitigation and contingency plans, even in the absence of extensive quantitative data. Option D. Defer the formal risk assessment until more extensive real-world data on the technology's performance becomes available, allowing for a more data-driven analysis. The correct answer is C. Conduct a thorough risk assessment that includes qualitative analysis of potential failure scenarios, impact assessments on various stakeholders, and the development of comprehensive mitigation and contingency plans, even in the absence of extensive quantitative data. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario presents a common challenge in risk assessment where a new initiative, while promising potential benefits, introduces novel and less understood risks. The professional's task is to balance the drive for innovation and business growth with the imperative to protect the company and its stakeholders from potential harm. The difficulty lies in the absence of established historical data or industry benchmarks for these specific risks, requiring a more qualitative and judgment-based approach to assessment. Correct approach analysis. The most effective approach involves a comprehensive, multifaceted risk assessment that goes beyond simply identifying potential negative outcomes. It requires understanding the nature of the new technology, its potential failure modes, the impact of those failures on various stakeholders, customers, employees, the company's reputation, financial stability, and the likelihood of such failures occurring. This includes engaging subject matter experts, considering worst-case scenarios, and developing robust mitigation strategies. This aligns with best professional practices in risk management, which emphasize proactive identification, thorough analysis, and strategic control of risks to ensure business objectives are met responsibly and sustainably. Regulatory frameworks, while not explicitly detailed here for this exam, generally mandate a prudent approach to managing risks associated with new ventures. Incorrect approaches analysis. One incorrect approach would be to dismiss the risk due to a lack of immediate, quantifiable data. This fails to acknowledge that risk assessment is not solely about numbers. It also involves qualitative judgment and foresight. Ethically and professionally, this approach is negligent as it prioritizes expediency over due diligence, potentially exposing the company to unforeseen and significant liabilities. It violates the principle of acting with reasonable care and skill. Another incorrect approach would be to focus solely on the potential financial upside of the new initiative, downplaying or ignoring any identified risks. This demonstrates a severe lack of professional judgment and an ethical disregard for the potential negative consequences for customers, employees, or the company's long-term viability. It prioritizes short-term gains over responsible stewardship and could lead to significant reputational damage and regulatory scrutiny. A third incorrect approach would be to implement the initiative without any formal risk assessment process, relying on informal discussions or the assumption that it will be fine. This is a direct abdication of professional responsibility. It bypasses established risk management protocols, leaving the company vulnerable to a wide range of potential issues that could have been identified and addressed proactively. This approach is ethically unsound and professionally incompetent, as it fails to uphold the standards of due diligence expected in any business undertaking. Professional reasoning. Professionals should approach risk assessment by first understanding the context and objectives of the initiative. They should then employ a structured process that includes identifying potential risks, both known and unknown, analyzing their potential impact and likelihood, evaluating the existing controls, and determining appropriate mitigation strategies. This process should be iterative and involve collaboration with relevant stakeholders and subject matter experts. When dealing with novel risks, a more conservative and thorough approach is warranted, prioritizing robust analysis and contingency planning over speed or cost reduction. The decision-making framework should always prioritize the long-term health and integrity of the organization and its stakeholders. Question 3. Investigation of a customer's request to access their purchase history on a self-checkout kiosk, which triggers a system alert indicating a potential data privacy issue, requires an associate to consider the most appropriate course of action. Option A. Inform the customer that the system is malfunctioning and that their purchase history cannot be accessed at this time without further explanation. Option B. Immediately stop the transaction and ask the customer to leave the store due to the system alert, without providing any further assistance or explanation. Option C. Override the system alert and proceed with accessing the customer's purchase history on the kiosk to ensure a quick resolution and maintain customer satisfaction. Option D. Politely explain to the customer that the system is flagging a potential privacy concern and offer to assist them in accessing their history through a secure, alternative channel, such as the customer service desk or the company's official website, while assuring them their data is protected. The correct answer is D. Politely explain to the customer that the system is flagging a potential privacy concern and offer to assist them in accessing their history through a secure, alternative channel, such as the customer service desk or the company's official website, while assuring them their data is protected. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario presents a professional challenge because it requires an associate to balance the immediate need for a product with the company's established policies and legal obligations regarding customer data privacy. The pressure to make a sale can conflict with the ethical imperative to protect sensitive information. Careful judgment is required to ensure that customer trust is maintained and regulatory compliance is upheld, even when faced with a demanding customer. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach represents best professional practice because it prioritizes adherence to Walmart's data privacy policies and relevant U.S. regulations, such as the California Consumer Privacy Act, CCPA, if applicable, or general principles of data protection. By explaining the policy and offering alternative solutions that respect privacy, the associate demonstrates integrity and a commitment to lawful business practices. This upholds customer trust and mitigates legal risks for Walmart. Incorrect approaches analysis. One incorrect approach involves overriding the system's security protocols to complete the transaction. This is a significant regulatory and ethical failure. It violates data privacy laws by potentially exposing customer information and breaches Walmart's internal policies designed to protect this data. Such an action erodes customer confidence and exposes Walmart to severe penalties, including fines and legal action. Another incorrect approach is to dismiss the customer's request without offering any alternative or explanation. This is professionally unacceptable, as it demonstrates poor customer service and a lack of understanding of the underlying policy. While it avoids a direct policy violation, it fails to uphold the company's commitment to customer satisfaction and can lead to negative customer experiences and reputational damage. A third incorrect approach is to proceed with the transaction without fully understanding the implications of the system alert. This shows a lack of diligence and an insufficient grasp of data security protocols. It risks inadvertently violating privacy regulations or company policy, even if unintentional, by not taking the necessary steps to investigate or escalate the alert appropriately. Professional reasoning. Professionals should approach such situations by first understanding the core issue presented by the system alert. This involves recognizing that the alert signifies a potential risk to data privacy or policy compliance. The next step is to consult and strictly adhere to company policies and relevant regulations. If the policy is unclear or the situation is complex, escalation to a supervisor or a designated compliance officer is crucial. The decision-making process should always prioritize the protection of customer data and the integrity of company operations over immediate sales pressure. Offering alternative, compliant solutions to the customer demonstrates a commitment to both service and responsibility. Question 4. What factors determine the appropriate level of customer verification when selling age-restricted items at Walmart, considering both company policy and relevant U.S. federal and state regulations? Option A. The associate's personal opinion on whether the customer looks old enough to purchase the item. Option B. The specific type of age-restricted product being purchased and the customer's apparent age, necessitating a valid government-issued identification for confirmation. Option C. The customer's demeanor and whether they express urgency to complete the transaction. Option D. The current volume of customers in the store as a proxy for the need to expedite sales. The correct answer is B. the specific type of age-restricted product being purchased, and the customer's apparent age, necessitating a valid government-issued identification for confirmation. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario presents a challenge in balancing customer service with adherence to company policy and legal requirements regarding the sale of restricted items. The associate must quickly assess the situation, identify potential risks, and make a decision that protects both the customer and the company, while also complying with Walmart's internal guidelines and relevant U.S. federal and state laws concerning age verification and product sales. The pressure of a busy store environment can exacerbate the difficulty of making a sound judgment. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach involves prioritizing the verification of the customer's age and identity against the product's restrictions. This aligns with Walmart's commitment to responsible sales practices and compliance with laws such as the Federal Minimum Age for Sale of Tobacco Products Act and any applicable state or local ordinances. By requesting a valid government-issued ID, the associate upholds legal obligations, prevents underage sales, and mitigates the risk of penalties for the company. This demonstrates a commitment to ethical conduct and operational integrity. Incorrect approach is analysis. One incorrect approach is to proceed with the sale without verifying the customer's age, especially if the customer appears to be of age or claims to be. This directly violates age verification laws and Walmart's internal policies, exposing the company to significant legal penalties, fines, and reputational damage. It also fails to protect minors from accessing restricted products. Another incorrect approach is to refuse the sale outright without attempting any verification, even if the customer appears to be of age and is purchasing a product that may not have strict age restrictions. A caution is important. An overly rigid or arbitrary refusal without due process can lead to customer dissatisfaction and potential complaints, and may not be in line with the spirit of customer service if no actual policy or law is being violated. A third incorrect approach is to rely solely on the customer's verbal assertion of their age, or to make a subjective judgment based on appearance without requesting an ID. This is insufficient for meeting legal requirements for age-restricted products and opens the door to accidental sales to minors, which carries severe consequences for the retailer. Professional reasoning. Professionals should employ a decision-making framework that begins with understanding the specific product sales restrictions and associated legal requirements. This is followed by a clear, consistent application of company policy, particularly regarding age verification. When faced with ambiguity or a situation that triggers verification protocols, the professional should calmly and politely request the necessary documentation. If the documentation is insufficient or invalid, the sale should be politely declined, with an explanation that references policy and legal requirements. This process ensures compliance, protects the business, and maintains a professional customer interaction. Question 5. When evaluating a customer's request to return an item without a valid receipt, and the associate is aware of potential policy exceptions for store credit or exchanges, what is the most appropriate course of action to balance customer satisfaction with adherence to Walmart's operational guidelines? Option A. Bypass the store's return policy and issue a full refund to avoid conflict and ensure customer satisfaction. Option B. Politely explain the store's return policy regarding receipts, offer any available alternative solutions like store credit or exchange as per policy, and document the interaction. Option C. Become defensive and argumentative with the customer to assert the store's policy. Option D. Immediately refuse the return and dismiss the customer to avoid any potential policy violations. The correct answer is B. Politely explain the store's return policy regarding receipts, offer any available alternative solutions like store credit or exchange as per policy, and document the interaction. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario presents a common challenge in retail environments where associates are expected to balance customer service with adherence to company policies. The associate must quickly assess the situation, understand the customer's intent, and apply the correct policy without alienating the customer or violating Walmart's operational guidelines. The pressure to maintain sales targets and customer satisfaction can create a conflict, requiring careful judgment. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach involves politely but firmly explaining the store's policy regarding returns without a receipt, offering alternative solutions that align with Walmart's established procedures, and documenting the interaction. This demonstrates best professional practice by prioritizing policy adherence, which is crucial for inventory management, loss prevention, and maintaining consistent customer service standards. It also upholds ethical conduct by treating all customers fairly under the same rules. Offering a store credit or exchange, if applicable under policy, provides a customer-centric solution within the defined boundaries. Incorrect approach is analysis. One incorrect approach is to immediately refuse the return and dismiss the customer. This fails to uphold professional courtesy and customer service standards, potentially leading to negative customer experiences and damage to Walmart's reputation. It also ignores the possibility of policy exceptions or alternative resolutions that might be available. Another incorrect approach is to bypass the store's return policy and issue a full refund without a receipt, perhaps to avoid conflict or appease the customer. This represents a significant regulatory and ethical failure. It undermines internal controls, can lead to fraudulent returns, and creates an inconsistent application of policy, which is unfair to other customers and detrimental to inventory accuracy. This action could also violate internal audit requirements and financial controls. A third incorrect approach is to become defensive or argumentative with the customer. This is unprofessional and escalates the situation unnecessarily. It fails to de-escalate the customer's frustration and reflects poorly on the associate's ability to handle customer interactions with composure and respect, violating basic customer service ethics. Professional reasoning. Professionals should approach such situations by first actively listening to the customer's request and understanding their perspective. Then, they should recall and apply the relevant company policy accurately and consistently. If the policy is unclear or a situation falls outside standard parameters, seeking guidance from a supervisor or manager is the appropriate next step. The goal is to resolve the situation in a manner that is fair, compliant with policy, and maintains a positive customer relationship where possible. Documentation of exceptions or unusual resolutions is also a key part of professional practice. Question 6. Which approach would be most appropriate for a Walmart associate when a customer service representative from a third-party vendor requests specific customer purchase history data to resolve a billing discrepancy, and the associate is unsure if the vendor is authorized to receive this information? Option A. Directly provide the customer's purchase history to the vendor representative to ensure prompt resolution of the billing issue. Option B. Escalate the request to a supervisor or the designated data privacy officer for verification and guidance on proper procedure. Option C. Access the customer's purchase history and review it for any obvious errors before deciding whether to share it. Option D. Inform the vendor representative that Walmart cannot share any customer data and advise them to contact the customer directly. The correct answer is A. Directly provide the customer's purchase history to the vendor representative to ensure prompt resolution of the billing issue. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge because it requires balancing the immediate need for information with the imperative to protect sensitive customer data and adhere to Walmart's internal policies and relevant U.S. regulations concerning data privacy. The associate must exercise judgment to avoid unauthorized disclosure while still fulfilling their role. The correct approach represents best professional practice because it prioritizes data security and compliance with U.S. privacy laws, such as the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act, HIPAA, if the data pertains to health information, or the California Consumer Privacy Act, CCPA, for broader consumer data. It also aligns with Walmart's commitment to customer trust and data protection, as likely outlined in their internal policies and training. By escalating the request to a supervisor or designated privacy officer, the associate ensures that the inquiry is handled by individuals authorized and trained to assess its legitimacy and to access or disclose information in a compliant manner. This upholds ethical standards by preventing potential data breaches and misuse. An incorrect approach that involves directly providing the requested information without verification or authorization fails to comply with data privacy regulations. This could lead to significant legal penalties, reputational damage for Walmart, and a breach of customer trust. Such an action would be a direct violation of policies designed to safeguard personal information. Another incorrect approach, which is to ignore the request entirely, is also professionally unacceptable. While it avoids a data breach, it fails to address a potentially legitimate business need and could hinder operational efficiency or customer service if the request was valid and authorized. It demonstrates a lack of proactive problem-solving and adherence to established procedures for handling information requests. The professional decision-making process for similar situations should involve a clear understanding of data privacy policies and regulations. When faced with an information request, an associate should first assess if they are authorized to access or disclose the information. If there is any doubt, or if the request involves sensitive personal data, the appropriate step is to consult with a supervisor or a designated compliance officer. This ensures that all actions are taken within the bounds of legal and ethical requirements, protecting both the customer and the organization. Question 7. The audit findings indicate a potential discrepancy in a key supplier's labor practices, which may not fully align with Walmart's ethical sourcing guidelines regarding fair wages and working hours. This supplier is critical to several product lines and has a long-standing positive business relationship with Walmart. What is the most appropriate course of action? Option A. Report the findings to external regulatory bodies without first attempting to resolve the issue directly with the supplier. Option B. Terminate the supplier contract immediately to mitigate any potential reputational or legal risks associated with noncompliance. Option C. Immediately engage with the supplier to discuss the audit findings, request clarification, and collaboratively develop a corrective action plan if necessary, while continuing to monitor their compliance. Option D. Overlook the findings due to the supplier's critical importance and long-standing relationship, focusing on other areas of the business. The correct answer is C. Immediately engage with the supplier to discuss the audit findings, request clarification, and collaboratively develop a corrective action plan if necessary, while continuing to monitor their compliance. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge because it requires balancing the immediate need to address a potential compliance issue with the risk of damaging a long-standing supplier relationship. The auditor's findings, while indicating a potential deviation from Walmart's ethical sourcing guidelines, are not yet definitive proof of a systemic problem. The challenge lies in determining the appropriate level of intervention without prematurely escalating the situation or ignoring a potential ethical breach. The correct approach represents best professional practice because it prioritizes a thorough, fact-based investigation before taking punitive action. This aligns with Walmart's commitment to ethical conduct and supplier accountability, as outlined in its supplier standards and code of conduct. By engaging directly with the supplier to understand the context and seek corrective action, the company demonstrates a commitment to partnership and continuous improvement, rather than immediate termination. This approach respects due process and allows for a more nuanced resolution that can preserve the business relationship while still upholding ethical standards. An incorrect approach that involves immediately terminating the contract without further investigation would be a regulatory and ethical failure. This would violate principles of fairness and due process, potentially leading to legal challenges and reputational damage if the initial findings were inaccurate or misrepresented. It also fails to acknowledge the possibility of a misunderstanding or a minor, correctable issue, thereby missing an opportunity for collaborative problem-solving. Another incorrect approach, which is to ignore the audit findings due to the supplier's importance, represents a significant ethical failure. This would be a direct violation of Walmart's code of conduct and ethical sourcing policies, creating a precedent for overlooking noncompliance and undermining the integrity of the audit process. It prioritizes short-term business convenience over long-term ethical responsibility and could expose Walmart to significant legal and reputational risks if the issue were to become public. The professional decision-making process for similar situations should involve a structured approach. 1. Acknowledge and document the audit findings. 2. Assess the severity and potential impact of the findings. 3. Consult relevant internal policies and ethical guidelines, e.g., Walmart Supplier Standards Code of Conduct. 4. Initiate a dialogue with the supplier to gather more information and understand their perspective. 5. Develop a plan for corrective action if necessary with clear timelines and accountability. 6. Escalate the issue internally if the supplier is unresponsive or unwilling to address the findings. 7. Make a final decision based on the comprehensive information gathered, adhering to ethical principles and company policy. Question 8. The audit findings indicate that the current inventory management process in several distribution centers is experiencing inefficiencies, leading to increased handling times and occasional stock discrepancies. A proposed solution involves a significant overhaul of the system, including new technology integration and revised workflow procedures. Which of the following approaches best balances the need for process optimization with the operational realities and associate well-being within Walmart's framework? Option A. Prioritize immediate cost savings by reducing the number of associates involved in inventory management, assuming the new technology will compensate for the reduced workforce. Option B. Proceed with the new system implementation without significant associate consultation, focusing solely on the technical aspects of the upgrade to ensure rapid deployment. Option C. Implement the new technology and revised procedures across all affected distribution centers simultaneously, with minimal additional training, expecting associates to adapt quickly. Option D. Conduct a pilot program in a single distribution center to test the new technology and procedures, gather associate feedback, and refine the process before a wider rollout. Correct answer is C. Implement the new technology and revise procedures across all affected distribution centers simultaneously, with minimal additional training, expecting associates to adapt quickly. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario presents a challenge because it requires balancing efficiency gains with potential impacts on associate well-being and adherence to established Walmart operational guidelines. The pressure to optimize processes can sometimes lead to overlooking the human element or unintended consequences, necessitating a thoughtful and comprehensive approach. Correct approach analysis. Implementing a phased rollout of the optimized process, coupled with comprehensive training and feedback mechanisms, represents best professional practice. This approach aligns with Walmart's commitment to associate development and operational integrity. It allows for controlled implementation, identification and mitigation of unforeseen issues, and ensures associates are adequately prepared, thereby minimizing disruption and maximizing adoption. This reflects a responsible and ethical approach to change management, prioritizing both operational effectiveness and the human capital that drives it. Incorrect approach is analysis. Focusing solely on the speed of implementation without considering associate readiness or potential workflow disruptions would be a significant ethical and operational failure. This approach risks alienating associates, leading to errors, and ultimately undermining the intended process optimization. It disregards the importance of change management and associate buy-in, which are critical for sustainable improvements. Implementing the optimized process without any additional training, assuming associates can adapt independently, is also professionally unacceptable. This neglects Walmart's responsibility to equip its associates with the necessary skills and knowledge to perform their duties effectively under new conditions. It can lead to increased stress, reduced productivity, and potential compliance issues if the new process has specific procedural requirements. Ignoring feedback from associates during and after the implementation phase would be a failure to uphold principles of continuous improvement and associate engagement. This approach suggests a top-down directive without valuing the practical insights associates can offer, which are often crucial for identifying subtle flaws or areas for further refinement. It can foster a culture of disengagement and missed opportunities for genuine optimization. Professional reasoning. Professionals facing such a scenario should employ a structured decision-making process that prioritizes a balanced approach. This involves 1. Thoroughly understanding the proposed optimization and its potential impacts on all stakeholders, particularly associates. 2. Evaluating implementation strategies based on their ability to minimize disruption, maximize adoption, and ensure compliance with Walmart policies and ethical standards. 3. Incorporating feedback loops and training to support associates through the transition. 4. Considering a phased approach to allow for adjustments and learning. Question 9. The monitoring system demonstrates a consistent increase in average customer wait times at checkout lanes over the past week, with no obvious external factors like increased foot traffic or system outages. Option A. Immediately deploy additional associates to open more checkout lanes to alleviate the perceived congestion. Option B. Initiate a detailed analysis of the checkout process, examining transaction times, associate efficiency, and potential bottlenecks in payment processing or bagging. Option C. Acknowledge the data but assume it is a temporary trend and continue monitoring without immediate intervention. Option D. Implement a company-wide directive to expedite all customer transactions, regardless of the specific cause of the delay. The correct answer is B. Initiate a detailed analysis of the checkout process, examining transaction times, associate efficiency, and potential bottlenecks in payment processing or bagging. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario presents a common challenge in retail operations where a system flags an anomaly, but the root cause isn't immediately obvious. The professional challenge lies in interpreting the data, understanding the potential impact on operational efficiency and customer experience, and selecting the most effective and compliant course of action without disrupting business unnecessarily. It requires a balance between proactive problem-solving and avoiding overreaction. Correct approach analysis. Identifying the specific process that is underperforming and then investigating its inputs, outputs, and dependencies is the most effective approach. This aligns with the principles of process optimization by focusing on root cause analysis rather than superficial fixes. In a retail context, this means understanding how inventory management, staffing, or checkout procedures might be contributing to longer wait times. This methodical investigation ensures that any implemented solution addresses the actual problem, leading to sustainable improvements in efficiency and customer satisfaction, which are key performance indicators for Walmart. This approach is ethically sound as it prioritizes efficient resource allocation and customer service. Incorrect approach is analysis. Focusing solely on increasing staffing at checkout without understanding the bottleneck is an inefficient and potentially costly approach. It fails to address the underlying process issue and may lead to underutilized staff or mask a deeper problem in a different part of the operation. This is a failure in professional judgment by not performing adequate root cause analysis. Implementing a blanket policy to speed up all transactions, regardless of the specific issue, risks compromising accuracy and customer service. This could lead to errors in pricing, incorrect inventory counts, or rushed customer interactions, all of which are detrimental to operational integrity and customer trust. This approach demonstrates a lack of nuanced understanding of process optimization and could lead to regulatory or policy violations related to accurate transaction processing. Ignoring the data and assuming the anomaly is a temporary fluctuation is a failure to proactively manage operations. This can lead to prolonged inefficiencies, decreased customer satisfaction, and potential financial losses. It represents a dereliction of professional duty to monitor and improve operational performance. Professional reasoning. Professionals should approach such situations by first seeking to understand the data and its implications. This involves a structured problem-solving methodology, such as DMAIC, define, measure, analyze, improve, control, or similar process improvement frameworks. The decision-making process should prioritize data-driven analysis, root cause identification, and the selection of solutions that are both effective and compliant with company policies and ethical standards. Question 10. Stakeholder feedback indicates that the current process for restocking shelves during peak hours is leading to significant delays and customer complaints. A proposal has been made to implement a new, faster restocking method that involves associates working in smaller, more agile teams with less direct supervision. What is the most appropriate approach to address this feedback and implement the proposed optimization? Option A. Immediately implement the new restocking method across all stores to capitalize on potential efficiency gains and address customer complaints promptly. Option B. Conduct a thorough analysis of the current restocking process, gather detailed feedback from associates involved, and pilot the proposed new method in a select group of stores to evaluate its effectiveness and impact before a wider rollout. Option C. Focus on increasing the number of associates assigned to restocking during peak hours, as this is a direct response to the perceived staffing shortage causing delays. Option D. Implement the new restocking method with a strong emphasis on increased performance metrics and accountability for associates, assuming that stricter oversight will drive the desired speed. The correct answer is A. Immediately implement the new restocking method across all stores to capitalize on potential efficiency gains and address customer complaints promptly. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge because it requires balancing efficiency gains with potential impacts on associate well-being and adherence to established operational procedures, all within the context of Walmart's operational framework. The need for process optimization must be weighed against the risk of unintended consequences that could affect the associate experience or compliance. The correct approach represents best professional practice because it prioritizes a systematic and data-driven evaluation of proposed changes involving relevant stakeholders, including associates who perform the tasks, and conducting pilot testing. Walmart ensures that optimizations are practical, effective, and do not negatively impact the work environment or compliance with internal policies and potentially external regulations governing workplace practices. This aligns with a commitment to continuous improvement while maintaining operational integrity and associate support. An incorrect approach that focuses solely on immediate cost reduction without considering the impact on associate workload or task complexity would be professionally unacceptable. This could lead to increased stress, errors, and potential violations of workplace safety or labor guidelines. Even if not explicitly stated as a regulatory failure in this context, it represents a failure in responsible operational management. Another incorrect approach that bypasses associate input and pilot testing risks implementing solutions that are not viable in practice, leading to wasted resources and further disruption, undermining the principles of effective process management. The professional decision-making process for similar situations should involve a clear understanding of the desired outcome, a thorough analysis of the current process, identification of potential solutions, and a structured evaluation of those solutions. This includes assessing feasibility, impact on all affected parties, associates, customers, operations, and alignment with company values and policies. Engaging those closest to the process, associates, and testing changes in a controlled environment are crucial steps to mitigate risks and ensure successful implementation. Question 11. Process analysis reveals that the checkout process at a busy Walmart store is experiencing significant wait times during peak hours, impacting customer satisfaction scores. The current process involves multiple scanning steps, a separate card payment verification, and a final bag packing stage. A proposed optimization is to combine the scanning and payment verification into a single, faster terminal interaction and to have customers bag their own items at a designated station. Option A. Immediately implement the combined scanning and payment terminal and self-bagging station across all stores to achieve immediate cost savings and efficiency gains, assuming customers will adapt quickly to the new system. Option B. Implement the proposed changes after a pilot test in one store, gathering feedback from both customers and associates, and analyzing wait times and satisfaction scores to ensure the optimization enhances efficiency without negatively impacting the customer experience or operational flow. Option C. Focus solely on reducing the number of items scanned per minute by associates without altering the existing payment or bagging procedures to increase throughput. Option D. Introduce a new, more complex payment verification system that requires additional customer input, believing that enhanced security will indirectly improve customer perception of efficiency. The correct answer is B. Implement the proposed changes after a pilot test in one store, gathering feedback from both customers and associates, and analyzing wait times and satisfaction scores to ensure the optimization enhances efficiency without negatively impacting the customer experience or operational flow. Explanation. This scenario is professionally challenging because it requires balancing efficiency gains with potential impacts on customer experience and adherence to Walmart's operational standards, which are implicitly governed by consumer protection principles and internal policy guidelines. The pressure to optimize processes can sometimes lead to shortcuts that, while seemingly beneficial in the short term, can erode trust and violate implicit commitments to service quality. The correct approach represents best professional practice because it prioritizes a holistic review of the process, considering both efficiency and customer impact. This aligns with Walmart's commitment to providing value and a positive shopping experience. By involving stakeholders and seeking feedback, it ensures that proposed changes are practical, sustainable, and do not negatively affect the customer journey or employee workload in unintended ways. This proactive and collaborative method is ethically sound, as it respects the needs of all parties involved and upholds the company's reputation. An incorrect approach that focuses solely on reducing the number of steps without considering the customer's perspective fails to acknowledge the importance of service quality and convenience. This could lead to a less intuitive or more frustrating shopping experience, potentially violating the implicit ethical obligation to provide a satisfactory customer journey. Another incorrect approach that involves implementing changes without proper testing or employee training risks operational disruptions and errors. This could lead to customer dissatisfaction and potentially violate internal operational guidelines designed to ensure smooth service delivery. A third incorrect approach that prioritizes speed over accuracy in inventory management could lead to stockouts or incorrect product availability, directly impacting customer trust and potentially violating consumer expectations of product availability. Professionals should use a decision-making framework that begins with clearly defining the problem and desired outcomes. This involves gathering data, identifying key performance indicators, and understanding the current process's strengths and weaknesses. Next, they should brainstorm potential solutions, evaluating each against criteria that include efficiency, customer impact, feasibility, and alignment with company values and policies. Collaboration with relevant teams and stakeholders is crucial for gathering diverse perspectives and ensuring buy-in. Finally, pilot testing and continuous monitoring are essential to validate the effectiveness of implemented changes and make necessary adjustments, ensuring that process optimization serves both business objectives and customer satisfaction. Question 12. Governance review demonstrates that a specific business unit is consistently missing hiring targets due to a perceived lengthy background check process. The hiring manager for this unit is requesting an expedited, less thorough background check for a candidate they believe is highly qualified and can start immediately, citing urgent business needs. Which of the following actions best aligns with regulatory requirements and ethical best practices for Walmart hiring? Option A. Proceed with the standard comprehensive background check process as outlined in Walmart's hiring policy, while simultaneously exploring internal avenues to expedite the processing of this specific check. Option B. Conduct a brief, informal reference check for the candidate and proceed with hiring, documenting the manager's urgency as justification for the deviation. Option C. Inform the hiring manager that the candidate must wait for the full background check to be completed, even if it means the position remains vacant for an extended period, without exploring any options for expediting the process. Option D. Grant the hiring manager's request for an expedited, less thorough background check to fill the position quickly, given the urgent business needs. The correct answer is A. Proceed with the standard, comprehensive background check process as outlined in Walmart's hiring policy, while simultaneously exploring internal avenues to expedite the processing of this specific check. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge because it requires balancing the immediate financial pressures of a business unit with the long-term ethical and regulatory obligations concerning data privacy. The hiring manager is under pressure to fill a role quickly, which can lead to shortcuts in the vetting process. However, the Walmart Hiring Assessment Test, operating under U.S. federal and state employment laws and company policy, mandates a thorough and consistent background check process for all new hires, especially those who may have access to sensitive customer or associate data. The correct approach prioritizes adherence to established hiring protocols and legal requirements. This involves conducting a comprehensive background check that aligns with Walmart's internal policies and relevant U.S. regulations, such as the Fair Credit Reporting Act, FCRA, if applicable to the type of information sought. This approach represents best professional practice because it ensures fairness, compliance, and mitigates risk for the company. It upholds the principle of treating all candidates equally and prevents potential legal repercussions or reputational damage stemming from a compromised hire. An incorrect approach that bypasses or significantly shortens the standard background check process for a candidate due to expediency would represent a failure to comply with internal company policy and potentially U.S. employment law. This could lead to hiring an individual who poses a risk to the company, its customers, or its associates, creating liability. Another incorrect approach might involve selectively applying background check standards based on perceived urgency or the candidate's perceived trustworthiness, which violates principles of fairness and equal opportunity and could be discriminatory. Third incorrect approach could be to rely solely on informal references without formal verification, which is insufficient for a regulated environment like Walmart and fails to meet due diligence standards. Professionals should employ a decision-making framework that begins with understanding the established policies and legal requirements. When faced with pressure, they should first assess the potential risks of deviating from these standards. If expediency is a genuine concern, the professional should explore ways to expedite the existing process rather than circumventing it. This might involve escalating the need for faster processing to the relevant departments or seeking temporary solutions that do not compromise compliance. The core principle is to uphold integrity and compliance, even under pressure. Question 13. Stakeholder feedback indicates that some associates in a specific distribution center are experiencing excessive mandatory overtime that is impacting their well-being and potentially violating company policies on work-life balance. As a hiring manager, what is the most appropriate initial step to address this feedback? Option A. Immediately implement a policy change to cap all overtime hours across all distribution centers to prevent future issues. Option B. Initiate a confidential review of the distribution center's scheduling and overtime records, and schedule meetings with the distribution center management and a representative group of associates to gather more information. Option C. Advise the stakeholders that the company's current overtime policies are sufficient and that individual circumstances may vary. Option D. Escalate the feedback to the corporate HR department without conducting any initial assessment, assuming it is a widespread systemic issue. The correct answer is B. Initiate a confidential review of the distribution center's scheduling and overtime records, and schedule meetings with the distribution center management and a representative group of associates to gather more information. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge because it requires balancing the immediate needs of a key stakeholder group with the long-term strategic goals and ethical obligations of the company. The feedback highlights a potential disconnect between operational realities and the company's stated commitment to fair labor practices. Navigating this requires careful consideration of various perspectives and a commitment to upholding company values and relevant regulations. The correct approach represents best professional practice because it prioritizes a thorough, objective investigation into the stakeholder concerns. This aligns with Walmart's commitment to ethical sourcing and fair labor practices, as outlined in their supplier standards and corporate responsibility reports. By engaging directly with the affected workers and seeking verifiable evidence, the company demonstrates a commitment to transparency and accountability. This proactive and evidence-based approach is crucial for maintaining trust with stakeholders, including employees, customers, and investors, and for mitigating potential legal and reputational risks. It also adheres to principles of due diligence expected in supply chain management. An incorrect approach that focuses solely on appeasing the immediate stakeholder without investigation risks superficial solutions that do not address the root cause of the problem. This could lead to continued ethical breaches and potential violations of labor laws or supplier agreements. Another incorrect approach that dismisses the feedback without proper review demonstrates a lack of respect for employee concerns and a failure to uphold ethical standards, potentially leading to a decline in morale and increased risk of regulatory scrutiny. Ignoring the feedback entirely is a severe ethical and professional failing, as it neglects a duty of care and could result in significant legal repercussions and reputational damage. Professionals should employ a decision-making framework that begins with acknowledging and validating stakeholder feedback. This should be followed by a structured process of information gathering, objective analysis, and consideration of potential impacts on all relevant parties. When faced with such feedback, professionals should ask, what is the nature of the concern? What evidence supports or refutes it? What are the potential ethical and legal implications? What are the company's stated values and policies regarding this issue? What are the best practices for addressing such concerns within our industry and regulatory environment? This systematic approach ensures that decisions are informed, ethical, and aligned with long-term organizational sustainability. Question 14. The review process indicates that an associate is approached by a customer who has an item with a slightly damaged price tag. The customer believes the item should be priced lower based on a perceived sale price they saw earlier, but the tag is too damaged to read clearly. The associate is authorized to handle minor price discrepancies, but is unsure if this situation falls within their scope. Option A. Immediately adjust the price to what the customer believes it should be to ensure customer satisfaction. Option B. Offer to look up the item in the system to find the correct price, but if it's not a clear sale price, state that the current tag price is the only valid one. Option C. Refuse to help the customer, stating that the damaged tag makes it impossible to verify the price. Option D. Politely explain the policy regarding price adjustments for damaged tags and offer to call a supervisor to assist with the discrepancy. The correct answer is D. Politely explain the policy regarding price adjustments for damaged tags and offer to call a supervisor to assist with the discrepancy. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario presents a common challenge in retail environments where a customer's request, while seemingly minor, could have broader implications for inventory accuracy and operational efficiency. The associate must balance customer service with adherence to established procedures designed to maintain data integrity and prevent potential loss. The challenge lies in making a quick, informed decision that upholds company policy without alienating the customer or creating a precedent for unauthorized actions. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach involves politely explaining the policy regarding price adjustments and offering to involve a supervisor. This upholds best professional practice by demonstrating respect for company procedures, which are in place to ensure fair pricing for all customers and accurate inventory management. It also provides a clear escalation path, ensuring the customer's concern is addressed by someone with the authority to make exceptions or provide further explanation, thereby maintaining customer satisfaction while adhering to regulatory and internal guidelines. This aligns with principles of operational integrity and customer service excellence expected in a retail setting. Incorrect approaches analysis. Offering an immediate, unauthorized price adjustment without following protocol directly violates company policy and potentially inventory control regulations. This creates an ethical failure by setting an inconsistent precedent for pricing, which could lead to disputes with other customers and inaccurate financial reporting. It also bypasses the supervisory oversight designed to prevent errors or fraudulent activity. Refusing to assist the customer without offering an alternative solution or explanation is a failure in customer service best practices. While adhering to policy is important, a complete refusal without attempting to find a resolution or involve appropriate personnel can lead to customer dissatisfaction and damage the store's reputation. Ethically, it falls short of the expected level of service. Escalating the issue to a supervisor without first attempting to understand the customer's request or offering a basic explanation demonstrates a lack of initiative and problem-solving skills. While escalation is sometimes necessary, it should be a last resort after a reasonable attempt to resolve the issue at the associate level, within policy guidelines. This approach can be perceived as passing the buck and may not always be the most efficient way to serve the customer. Professional reasoning. Professionals should utilize a decision-making framework that prioritizes understanding the situation, consulting relevant policies, and seeking appropriate authorization when necessary. This involves active listening to the customer, recalling company procedures, and knowing when to escalate. The framework should balance customer satisfaction with operational integrity and ethical conduct. Question 15. The performance metrics show a consistent decline in customer satisfaction scores and an increase in associate overtime hours in a specific department over the past quarter. Option A. Initiate a cross-functional team to investigate the root causes of both the customer satisfaction decline and the increased overtime, seeking input from associates and managers in the affected department to develop targeted solutions. Option B. Immediately implement a hiring freeze in the department to control labor costs, assuming the overtime is due to overstaffing. Option C. Overlook the overtime increase as a temporary issue and focus solely on retraining associates on customer service scripts to address the satisfaction scores. Option D. Introduce a new performance bonus structure directly tied to customer satisfaction scores, with no concurrent review of staffing or workload. The correct answer is A. Initiate a cross-functional team to investigate the root causes of both the customer satisfaction decline and the increased overtime, seeking input from associates and managers in the affected department to develop targeted solutions. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge because it requires balancing immediate operational needs with long-term strategic goals, all while adhering to Walmart's internal policies and ethical guidelines. The decision-maker must interpret performance data, understand its implications for customer satisfaction and associate morale, and then select a course of action that aligns with Walmart's commitment to both efficiency and employee well-being. The pressure to achieve short-term results can sometimes conflict with the need for sustainable operational practices. The correct approach represents best professional practice because it involves a comprehensive review of the situation, considering multiple contributing factors beyond just the raw numbers. It prioritizes understanding the root causes of the performance dip before implementing solutions. This aligns with Walmart's guiding principles of valuing associates and focusing on customer needs. By seeking input from those directly involved, the decision-maker demonstrates respect for their expertise and fosters a collaborative problem-solving environment. This approach is ethically sound as it avoids making hasty decisions that could negatively impact associates or customers and promotes transparency and accountability. It also aligns with the spirit of continuous improvement by addressing systemic issues rather than superficial symptoms. An incorrect approach that focuses solely on immediate cost-cutting measures, such as reducing staffing levels without a thorough analysis of workload impact, would be ethically flawed. This could lead to increased stress on remaining associates, decreased service quality for customers, and potential violations of labor laws or internal policies regarding safe staffing levels. Another incorrect approach might be to implement a punitive system based solely on the negative metrics, without considering external factors or providing support for improvement. This would be detrimental to associate morale, create a culture of fear, and fail to address underlying issues, potentially leading to higher turnover and further performance degradation. A third incorrect approach could be to ignore the metrics altogether, assuming they are temporary fluctuations. This would represent a failure of leadership and a disregard for the importance of data-driven decision-making, potentially allowing problems to escalate and negatively impacting the business and its stakeholders. Professionals should employ a structured decision-making framework that includes 1. Data gathering and analysis. Understand the performance metrics and their context. 2. Root cause identification. Investigate why the metrics are showing a particular trend. 3. Stakeholder consultation. Engage with affected parties, associates, managers, customers to gain diverse perspectives. 4. Solution generation. Brainstorm potential actions that address the root causes. 5. Impact assessment. Evaluate the potential consequences of each solution on associates, customers, and the business. 6. Decision and implementation. Select the most appropriate solution and execute it. 7. Monitoring and evaluation. Track the effectiveness of the implemented solution and make adjustments as needed. Question 16. Quality control measures reveal a customer is requesting a refund for an item purchased online but picked up in store, claiming the item was damaged upon opening the package at home. The associate is pressured to process the refund immediately to avoid a long wait time for other customers, but the store's policy requires a visual inspection of the damaged item before issuing a refund for online purchases. The associate has access to the customer's order details, but not the physical item at this moment. Option A. Politely explain the store's policy regarding damaged item returns for online purchases and offer to assist the customer once the item can be inspected, or guide them through the process of returning it to a designated area for inspection. Option B. Offer store credit for the value of the item as a gesture of goodwill, bypassing the need for physical inspection to resolve the issue quickly. Option C. Immediately process the refund based on the customer's verbal claim to expedite service and maintain customer satisfaction, assuming the customer is being truthful. Option D. Advise the customer that without the physical item present for inspection, a refund cannot be processed at this time and suggest they return later with the item. The correct answer is A. Politely explain the store's policy regarding damaged item returns for online purchases and offer to assist the customer once the item can be inspected, or guide them through the process of returning it to a designated area for inspection. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario presents a professional challenge because it requires balancing immediate operational needs with long-term ethical and regulatory compliance. The pressure to resolve a customer issue quickly can lead to shortcuts that violate Walmart's internal policies and potentially external regulations regarding data privacy and accuracy. The associate must exercise sound judgment to ensure customer satisfaction without compromising integrity or legal obligations. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach involves a systematic process of gathering information, consulting relevant policies, and escalating when necessary. This aligns with best professional practices by prioritizing accuracy, adherence to Walmart's established decision-making frameworks, and responsible data handling. It demonstrates a commitment to both customer service and corporate governance, ensuring that decisions are not only effective but also ethical and compliant. This approach minimizes risk to the company and the customer. Incorrect approach is analysis. One incorrect approach involves making an assumption about the customer's intent or the product's status without verification. This can lead to inaccurate record keeping, potentially violating Walmart's policies on data integrity and customer information management. It also risks providing incorrect information to the customer, damaging trust, and potentially leading to further complications. Another incorrect approach is to bypass established procedures for resolving customer issues, such as not documenting the interaction or not seeking supervisor approval for an exception. This undermines the decision-making framework designed to ensure consistency, fairness, and accountability. It can create a precedent for non-compliance and make it difficult to track issues or identify systemic problems. A third incorrect approach is to prioritize speed over accuracy by providing a quick, but potentially incorrect, resolution. This directly contravenes the principle of providing reliable service and accurate information, which is a cornerstone of customer trust and operational efficiency. It can lead to customer dissatisfaction, returns, and reputational damage for Walmart. Professional reasoning. Professionals should employ a structured decision-making framework. This typically involves 1. Clearly defining the problem and gathering all relevant facts. 2. Identifying potential solutions and their consequences. 3. Consulting applicable policies, procedures, and ethical guidelines. 4. Seeking advice or escalating to a supervisor or relevant department if uncertainty exists. 5. Implementing the chosen solution and documenting the process. This systematic approach ensures that decisions are well-informed, defensible, and aligned with organizational values and regulatory requirements. Question 17. The analysis reveals a consistent pattern of discrepancies between the recorded inventory levels and the actual physical stock for a particular category of merchandise in a Walmart store. An associate, noticing this recurring issue, has begun to document the specific items and the extent of the differences. Considering Walmart's operational guidelines and the importance of inventory accuracy, what is the most appropriate next step for the associate to take? Option A. Immediately implement personal adjustments to the inventory system stock counts for the affected items, believing they can correct the issue independently to prevent further inaccuracies. Option B. Continue to meticulously document the discrepancies, gather supporting evidence of potential causes, e.g., receiving logs, sales data, and formally report these findings with supporting documentation to their direct supervisor or the designated inventory control team for further investigation and resolution. Option C. Overlook the recurring discrepancies, assuming they are minor and will eventually self-correct, and focus on other immediate operational tasks. Option D. Publicly discuss the inventory issues with colleagues on the sales floor, speculating about potential causes and assigning blame to specific departments or individuals without formal investigation. The correct answer is B. Continue to meticulously document the discrepancies, gather supporting evidence of potential causes, e.g., receiving logs, sales data, and formally report these findings with supporting documentation to their direct supervisor or the designated inventory control team for further investigation and resolution. Explanation. The analysis reveals a scenario where a Walmart associate, tasked with managing inventory accuracy for a specific product category, observes a recurring discrepancy between the physical count and the system's recorded stock levels. This discrepancy is not a one-off event, but a pattern, suggesting a systemic issue rather than simple human error. The associate is aware of Walmart's internal policies regarding inventory management and the importance of accurate stock data for operational efficiency, customer satisfaction, and financial reporting. Professional challenge lies in identifying the root cause of the discrepancy and implementing a corrective action plan without disrupting daily operations or overstepping their defined responsibilities. Careful judgment is required to balance the need for immediate action with the procedural requirements for reporting and investigation. The correct approach involves a systematic investigation of potential causes, starting with the most probable and easily verifiable. This includes checking for recent receiving errors, misplacement of items within the store, or issues with the point-of-sale POS, system accurately decrementing stock. The associate should meticulously document their findings, including dates, times, specific product SKUs affected, and the nature of the discrepancy. Following this, they should escalate their findings through the appropriate internal channels, such as their direct supervisor or the inventory control department, providing clear, factual evidence. This approach represents best professional practice because it adheres to Walmart's established operational procedures, promotes data integrity, and allows for a structured resolution by those with the authority and expertise to address broader systemic issues, demonstrates accountability and a commitment to operational excellence. An incorrect approach would be to ignore the recurring discrepancies, assuming they are minor or will resolve themselves. This failure to act violates the ethical obligation to maintain accurate business records and operational integrity, potentially leading to significant financial losses due to stockouts or overstocking, and negatively impacting customer experience. Another incorrect approach would be to unilaterally implement drastic changes to inventory procedures without proper authorization or investigation. This could lead to further inaccuracies, operational disruptions, and a breach of company policy, demonstrating a lack of understanding of established protocols and a failure to collaborate effectively. A third incorrect approach would be to blame specific individuals without concrete evidence of wrongdoing. This is unprofessional, unethical, and counterproductive, as it fails to address the underlying systemic issues and can damage team morale. The professional decision-making process for similar situations should involve 1. Observation and data gathering. Diligently observe the situation and collect all relevant data. 2. Root cause analysis. Systematically investigate potential causes, prioritizing the most likely and verifiable. 3. Documentation. Maintain thorough and accurate records of all observations, findings, and actions taken. 4. Escalation and collaboration. Report findings through appropriate channels and collaborate with relevant stakeholders to develop and implement solutions. 5. Continuous improvement. Regularly review processes and outcomes to ensure ongoing accuracy and efficiency. Question 18. Benchmark analysis indicates that a new automated inventory management system is being considered for implementation across Walmart's U.S. distribution centers. This system promises enhanced real-time tracking and reporting capabilities. Before proceeding with the full rollout, what is the most critical step to ensure operational integrity and compliance? Option A. Conduct a comprehensive impact assessment to evaluate how the new system will affect existing inventory processes, data accuracy, reporting, and adherence to relevant U.S. regulations and internal policies. Option B. Focus solely on the projected cost savings of the new system, assuming that inventory accuracy and reporting will naturally improve with automation. Option C. Proceed with implementation and address any compliance or operational issues that arise after the system is fully deployed. Option D. Prioritize immediate implementation to capitalize on projected efficiency gains, relying on vendor assurances for system reliability and compliance. The correct answer is A. Conduct a comprehensive impact assessment to evaluate how the new system will affect existing inventory processes, data accuracy, reporting, and adherence to relevant U.S. regulations and internal policies. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario presents a professional challenge because it requires a proactive assessment of potential impacts on a critical business function, inventory management, before a significant operational change is implemented. The challenge lies in anticipating downstream effects and ensuring that the proposed change, while potentially beneficial in one area, does not create unforeseen disruptions or compliance issues in another. Careful judgment is required to balance the benefits of the new technology with the risks to operational integrity and regulatory adherence. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach involves conducting a thorough impact assessment that specifically examines how the new inventory management system will affect existing processes, data integrity, and compliance with Walmart's internal policies and relevant U.S. regulations concerning inventory tracking and reporting. This includes evaluating potential changes to data entry, reporting accuracy, audit trails, and the system's ability to support compliance with any applicable retail or supply chain regulations. This proactive, detailed examination ensures that potential risks are identified and mitigated before implementation, safeguarding operational efficiency and compliance. Incorrect approaches analysis. One incorrect approach would be to proceed with implementation based solely on the vendor's assurances of efficiency gains, without independent verification or a detailed impact analysis. This fails to uphold professional responsibility by neglecting due diligence and potentially exposing Walmart to operational disruptions, data inaccuracies, or non-compliance with U.S. regulations governing inventory management and financial reporting. It represents a failure to adequately assess risk. Another incorrect approach would be to focus exclusively on the cost savings associated with the new technology, disregarding its potential impact on inventory accuracy and regulatory reporting. This demonstrates a narrow, short-sighted perspective that prioritizes immediate financial benefits over long-term operational stability and compliance. Such an approach could lead to significant financial penalties or reputational damage if inventory discrepancies arise or regulatory requirements are not met. A third incorrect approach would be to assume that existing training protocols are sufficient for the new system without assessing the specific learning needs of employees and the system's unique functionalities. This overlooks the critical human element in technology adoption and can lead to errors, inefficiencies, and potential compliance breaches due to user error. It fails to ensure that the workforce is adequately prepared to operate the new system effectively and compliantly. Professional reasoning. Professionals should adopt a structured, risk-based approach to technology implementation. This involves 1. Clearly defining the objectives and scope of the change. 2. Identifying all stakeholders and potential impacts across departments and functions. 3. Conducting a comprehensive risk assessment, including operational, financial, and compliance risks. 4. Developing mitigation strategies for identified risks. 5. Establishing clear communication channels and training plans. 6. Implementing a robust monitoring and evaluation framework post-implementation. This systematic process ensures that decisions are informed, risks are managed, and the organization's objectives are met while adhering to all relevant regulations and ethical standards. Question 19. Assessment of the most responsible approach for a retail company to implement significant cost-saving measures across its operations, considering the potential effects on its workforce and overall business sustainability. Option A. Immediately implement cost-saving measures based on initial financial projections, with a plan to address any negative consequences as they arise. Option B. Prioritize cost reduction by streamlining processes that may increase employee workload, assuming that increased efficiency will naturally offset any negative impacts. Option C. Conduct a comprehensive impact assessment involving relevant departments and employee representatives to evaluate potential effects on morale, workload, and legal compliance before implementing changes. Option D. Focus solely on reducing operational expenses through technology adoption, without a detailed analysis of how this might affect current employee roles and responsibilities. The correct answer is C. Conduct a comprehensive impact assessment involving relevant departments and employee representatives to evaluate potential effects on morale, workload, and legal compliance before implementing changes. Explanation. Scenario analysis. This scenario presents a professional challenge because it requires balancing the immediate need for cost reduction with the long-term implications of operational changes on employee well-being and compliance. The pressure to cut expenses can lead to hasty decisions that overlook potential negative impacts, creating a conflict between financial goals and ethical responsibilities. Careful judgment is required to ensure that cost-saving measures do not violate Walmart's ethical standards or any applicable labor laws, which could lead to legal repercussions and damage to the company's reputation. Correct approach analysis. The correct approach involves conducting a thorough impact assessment that considers multiple facets of the proposed changes. This includes evaluating the potential effects on employee morale, productivity, and workload, as well as identifying any legal or regulatory compliance risks. By engaging with relevant stakeholders, such as HR and legal departments, and gathering data on potential consequences, Walmart can make an informed decision that mitigates risks and aligns with its values. This proactive and comprehensive approach ensures that cost-saving initiatives are sustainable and do not compromise the company's commitment to its associates or its legal obligations. This aligns with Walmart's stated commitment to ethical business practices and associate well-being, which are implicitly supported by general principles of responsible corporate governance and labor relations, even without specific U.S. regulatory citation for this conceptual question. Incorrect approach is analysis. Implementing cost-saving measures without a comprehensive impact assessment is professionally unacceptable. This approach risks overlooking significant negative consequences, such as decreased employee morale and increased turnover, which can ultimately lead to higher costs in the long run due to recruitment and training expenses. Furthermore, it could inadvertently lead to non-compliance with labor laws or company policies regarding working conditions and employee support, resulting in legal penalties and reputational damage. Focusing solely on immediate cost reduction without considering the broader implications demonstrates a lack of due diligence and a failure to uphold ethical business practices. This narrow focus can lead to decisions that are detrimental to the company's long-term health and its relationship with its employees. It fails to consider the interconnectedness of operational efficiency, employee welfare, and legal compliance. Ignoring potential impacts on employee workload and well-being is also a critical failure. This can lead to burnout, reduced productivity, and an unsafe working environment, which not only harms employees but also exposes Walmart to potential legal liabilities and reputational damage. Ethical business practice dictates that employee welfare should be a significant consideration in any operational change. Professional reasoning. Professionals should approach decisions involving operational changes by first identifying the core objective, e.g., cost reduction. Subsequently, they must engage in a systematic process of impact assessment. This involves 1. Identifying all potential stakeholders and areas of impact: employees, customers, operations, legal, etc. 2. Gathering relevant data and insights from these stakeholders and through research. 3. Analyzing the potential positive and negative consequences of each proposed action. 4. Evaluating these consequences against company values, ethical standards, and legal requirements. 5. Developing mitigation strategies for identified risks. 6. Making a well-informed decision that balances objectives with potential impacts. This structured approach ensures that decisions are not only financially sound, but also ethically responsible and legally compliant, fostering a sustainable and positive business environment. Question 20. Comparative studies suggest that the introduction of new inventory management technology in a large retail environment can significantly alter associate workflows and responsibilities. Considering Walmart's operational scale and commitment to its workforce, what is the most prudent approach to managing the potential impact of such a technological shift? Option A. Focus the impact assessment solely on the financial benefits and efficiency gains projected by the new technology, assuming any associate-related challenges will resolve themselves organically. Option B. Delegate the responsibility for managing associate impact to individual store managers without providing centralized guidance or a standardized assessment framework. Option C. Conduct a comprehensive pre-implementation impact assessment involving cross-functional teams to identify potential disruptions to associate roles, training needs, and workflow adjustments, and develop proactive mitigation strategies. Option D. Prioritize the technical rollout of the new inventory management system, addressing any associate concerns or workflow issues that arise only after the system is fully operational. The correct answer is C. Conduct a comprehensive pre-implementation impact assessment involving cross-functional teams to identify potential disruptions to associate roles, training needs, and workflow adjustments, and develop proactive mitigation strategies. Explanation. This scenario presents a common challenge in retail operations, balancing the introduction of new technology with its potential impact on existing processes and employee roles. The professional challenge lies in proactively identifying and mitigating negative consequences before they arise, ensuring a smooth transition that benefits both the company and its associates. Careful judgment is required to assess the scope of the impact, the potential risks, and the most effective strategies for addressing them. The correct approach represents best professional practice because it prioritizes a comprehensive and forward-thinking assessment of the new technology's implications. By engaging stakeholders, analyzing potential disruptions, and developing mitigation strategies, it aligns with ethical considerations of employee well-being and operational efficiency. This proactive stance minimizes unforeseen problems, reduces the likelihood of negative employee reactions, and ensures that the technology is implemented in a way that supports Walmart's strategic goals and its commitment to its workforce. This approach is implicitly supported by general business ethics principles and the implied expectation of responsible management practices within a large organization like Walmart, which would include due diligence in technology adoption. An incorrect approach that focuses solely on the technical implementation without considering the human element fails to acknowledge the significant impact on associates' daily tasks and potential job security. This oversight can lead to decreased morale, resistance to change, and a failure to realize the full benefits of the technology due to poor adoption. Ethically, it demonstrates a lack of consideration for the workforce. Another incorrect approach that delays the impact assessment until after implementation is reactive rather than proactive. This can result in costly and disruptive fixes, damage to employee trust, and potential operational disruptions that negatively affect customer service and sales. It represents a failure in due diligence and responsible management. A third incorrect approach that dismisses potential negative impacts without thorough investigation is negligent. It ignores potential risks to operational continuity and employee satisfaction, which can have long-term detrimental effects on the business. Professionals should adopt a decision-making framework that begins with a clear understanding of the proposed change and its objectives. This should be followed by a systematic process of identifying all potential stakeholders and their interests. A thorough impact assessment should then be conducted, considering operational, financial, and human resource implications. Based on this assessment, mitigation strategies should be developed and communicated transparently to all affected parties. Continuous monitoring and feedback mechanisms should be in place to adapt the strategy as needed, ensuring that the implementation remains aligned with initial goals and addresses any emergent issues.